Well, hi everybody. It's David Zink along with Kim Pearsall here to Mind Your Business for Tuesday. How you doing today, Kim?
Doing pretty good. How are you doing, Dave?
Harried. It's got 1,001 things going on.
I'm right there
Business
with
Press
you.
publishes. We had a special live video production that we had to do. I was doing with Julianne, but we're here now and we're doing Mind Your Business. Kim's here with a fresh slate of stuff and a correction from yesterday. But let's jump right into it. Kim, what do you got on the slate today?
True. Well, first off, yesterday I had mentioned that Heckman Corp had lost about $13 million in their second quarter. Ultimately, it was actually $16 million. So they had had a bullet point of how they had lost their money, and I just cited the first one, which was $13 million. So wanted to correct that. And then also in terms of the stories we're working on for tomorrow, first of all, bank, SEC subpoena sends stock price falling for Citizens Business Bank. Second, are raises on their way? A survey says so. And finally, Riverside County will start offering $2 million, up to $2 million in loans for businesses, but you have to be eligible. So I'll have those
Before we
details.
get started, we got about the raises. I hope they're on their way. But we're going to go, first of all, with Citizens Business Bank, a subpoena from the federal government.
Right. So no one likes to get a subpoena. And Citizens Business Bank, actually the parent company of that bank, received one recently that was basically asking for details on their lending standards. So their methods for allowable loan losses and so forth, and what they use to calculate those allowances and so forth. So CBB, the Citizens Business Bank, had noted in their SEC filing to their investors that they had indeed received the subpoena, and in the subpoena itself it says that this is no indication that you've done anything wrong, but still it sent investors worrying, and the stock price fell about 25% on Monday before it climbed back up to about $10 per share on Monday evening. So that was kind of interesting.
Well, and you'd think regulators would have a better grip on what it does to, especially banks.
Right.
And the people that are investing in those
Well,
banks.
I mean, they have to do that, and so they do have that notation in there saying that it isn't necessarily a signal of wrongdoing. But yeah, obviously investors are skittish and
to say the
didn't take
least.
too kindly to that.
Yeah. Well, second up, we got. I hope that you're right on this one. Payroll and raises are on their way.
Well, my colleague Jack Katzanik is working on a story tomorrow that definitely has piqued some interest here, looking at the budget line. But human resources consultant Mercer has said that their annual compensation survey suggests that 2011 will be the year that an overwhelming majority of American companies give their employees pay raises. Whether that happens here or not, that's what Jack's trying to find out, because obviously with everything in this economy, everyone always tempers news that might be national with the Inland Empire outlook, and we're always kind of lagging behind what everybody else is doing in the economy. So we'll see if inland businesses are as confident that they'll be ready to provide pay raises come 2011.
Well, I think in the newspaper industry, we're just happy if someone buys us lunch every now and again. So a raise would be an absolute, boon for me
We're
at
pretty
least.
easily amused.
Yeah. And as any journalist knows, free food is always the way to a journalist's stomach, or journalist's heart, excuse me. Stomach, heart, both ways. But we're on to the last item for today, which is, not payroll, I'm sorry. Let me move on. Loans here. We got
Correct.
Riverside County starting to offer loans, huh?
Right. Today it was approved at the Board of Supervisors meeting that the Riverside County Redevelopment Agency will be offering up to $2 million in loans to businesses that are looking to rehab or develop commercial space for specific industries, though. So they're looking at manufacturers, they're looking at technology companies, and they're also looking at perhaps renewable energy firms as well. It kind of goes along with the whole Riverside emphasis on innovation and so forth. But what they're seeking is businesses within the redevelopment area who can't really find capital anywhere else. And so within this environment, it still is difficult to find capital, and they're using their own tax increment funds within the county to provide up to $2 million in loans. The loan will have a 10-year maximum in terms of length, and then in terms of interest rate, that's going to be based on the other interest rates that are out there, standard interest rates, but it will take into account the economic impact that these projects might have on the area. Things that won't be eligible for these loans include nonprofit businesses, startups, wind farm and solar farms, which is kind of interesting. So the things that go on top of buildings or whatnot, those aren't eligible, and retail institutions as well. So they're really looking at the things that are going to create jobs, because jobs are the big key word that everyone's buzzing about.
Well, you know, and a little housekeeping on the back end of that, Kim. Last week or the week before, we were discussing out in, I believe it's in Whitewater, the water company out there. Is that correct?
I don't recall
Steve
talking
Moore gave
about
us.
it.
No. Steve Moore gave us.
Oh, correct.
Right.
In Cabazon.
Cabazon, excuse
Right.
me. I'm horrible with places. But at any rate, we did talk about that, and we never followed up with it. So I just want to remind you that tomorrow we'll follow up with it again. I believe the last time we had a number from Steve, it was getting up into the several hundred. It was a couple hundred when we started, and it was moving up into the 400 range, I believe. And that job is now closed a few days now. So I'm sure we'll be able to find out a final number from Steve.
Right, and what Dave's referring to is that there was this one job, one single job, and I think it wasn't necessarily minimum wage, but it was definitely on kind of a regular scale in terms of pay. It wasn't anything outrageous, and they had received now about 400 applications for that one job position, and like you said, the job position is closed, but they got so much interest in that one job, and it was just evident.
A $14 an hour job.
Right, that people are really looking for anything at this point. So.
And it was just kind of amazing the amount of. I mean, it's Cabazon. It's for people who live in Inland Empire, that's still on the edge of the Inland Empire. I mean, it's not exactly right in the middle. It's not Ontario.
Right. I mean, there's still a lot of people who live out there, and
sure.
Of course, the desert and whatnot is kind of in between.
Banning and Beaumont are right on the edge of that, so
Right.
it's not a big deal. But nonetheless, the population base is far west of there. So, and you still get a lot of these applications, people willing to take about any job. But raise is on the way. Maybe people will stay at their jobs a little longer. Kim, how about you?
We'll see.
We'll see. I'll put in a good word for you with our business editor, Mark Coast. Well, for Kim Pearsall, I'm David Zink, reminding you to mind your business. It's Tuesday. We'll talk to you again on Wednesday.